Hello and welcome to Transcontinental Overload and my very last episode of this year. I can't believe how quickly we got here. And every year it's the same. I feel the same way. I swear it was Thanksgiving just a week ago and December only seems to have like 3 days. Personally, I can't wait to see the back of this year. It's been a really exhausting one for me, for myself, for my family. And also a very eventful one, but not really in a good way. So I have all my hopes pinned on 2022. I already know it's going to be another exhausting one, but hopefully in a good way. More about all that later. Let's get to today's guest. I am talking to Aspen, an American in Munich. And if you're following any expats in Germany on YouTube, Instagram, or other social media, you might have come across her before, although she's not as active on social media as she used to be, and we do talk about that. I always really enjoy talking to expats in Germany. I just find it so interesting to hear their perspective, what they have to say about my fellow countrymen and women, and especially when it's someone who lives in Bavaria. I really love that, so I'm excited to share this episode with you, and you might be surprised to hear some of Aspen's observations. Anyway, here it is. Let's hear Aspen's story. Welcome, Aspen, to Transcontinental Overload. I've been following you on Instagram for a while, and I listened to a couple of interviews on other channels. So yeah, I'm really happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm definitely excited to talk to somebody who's, quite actually the opposite of myself. So we switch countries.
Right. I love that. I love talking to people in my old hometown. So you're in Munich right now, but tell us where you are from originally.
Yeah, so originally I was raised in Hawaii and a little bit in California, and then I've been in Munich since the last 9 years.
That's amazing. So how does someone from Hawaii get to go to Munich? It's like, that just seems like worlds apart. How did that happen?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Hawaii, it's amazing to live. I think if you're a small child or if you're retired, it's very slow, simple. It's a small island in the middle of the ocean, so not a lot to do there. And I feel, just you don't want to live your entire life where you go on holiday. And that's sort of the case that it was for me. And so when it came time for me to do my studies and for me to start my career, then I was like, okay, I need to find a place where there's a lot of opportunities for my growth and development and just, to live life a bit more. And then maybe, of course, I'll go back there sometime or when I want to go on holiday. But for long term, every day, not quite the best.
I kind of feel like some of us just have that inside of us, that sense of we need to get out of our comfort zone or kind of feel a little bit too insular sometimes, maybe. And in the case of Hawaii, that really nails it. But because I felt similar to that growing up in Bavaria, and it's all very nice, and people go there on vacation in the summer, and you can do stuff all year round, and it's an amazing place to visit. But I just always had that sense of, for me personally, I need to just experience other things. And I mean, I always assumed that I was going to return there after a few years, maybe, but I didn't, because life happens, right?
Yeah, I totally get that. And it's funny because, of course, size wise, Munich is a lot bigger than Hawaii. I mean, my town where I came from, I remember high school, my graduating class was like under 60 people. It was very, very tiny. So the town itself was maybe only a couple thousand people. And then just rural, middle of nowhere. But the funny thing is, after having lived in Munich for, I think, even the first 4 years or so, it started to be like, oh, well, this is actually quite small now. So I can kind of get where you're coming from.
That's so funny. That's what people keep saying, like Munich's a village. I feel like, do you hear that? People say that, Munich's such a village compared to, other cities. Although it isn't really. I mean, it's pretty big.
Yeah, I think more so the largest part are sort of the outer lying suburbs and rings, but then it's like most people don't go there, so you're only experiencing the small inner part. I think that's why. But it's more so, I mean, I think population wise, it's not what it makes it feel small, but just the lifestyle here.
Mhm.
It's really, really routine. It's really the same thing every season, every year. We just do it over and over again, and people here really love that type of what's it called? What am I looking for? What am I looking for? Those type of routines or habits, and it's
Mhm.
just the mentality. I mean, Bavaria in general, it's a very conservative state, so guys, now that I think about it, I'm like, oh, that should have been quite obvious to me. But
Mhm.
the way I see it is that Munich was a great place for me to have a really safe and comfortable home base, lots of opportunities, but also with
Absolutely.
that, lots of opportunities to like branch out and then come home easily. So
Mhm.
it works well in that way.
And I think places like that, it's a little bit like Texas. So when we first got to Texas, I was like, oh my God, I think I found the Bavaria of the US.
I was waiting to say that.
Because it's very similar here. People are, I mean, Austin is very, it's progressive, liberal, all that, all the things. Munich is in itself too, but all within a very traditional routine kind of. People love where they are, and to doing things that they've done always. And even though people from Texas usually leave, but they come back to Texas, and it's I think, did I read that last week? 80%, I think, of people will come back. So it's like a ridiculously high number. It says it's the stickiest state of the US where people will just return to. And I kind of have a sense that Bavaria and that Munich area is similar.
It very much is. Also, the thing that when everybody thinks of Germany, they think of Bavaria, and everybody thinks of the US, they think of Texas. So, but
Well, it's
no,
the loudest and proudest, I think.
yeah, definitely. I definitely so. Um, but no, I think it's just sort of, yeah, the habits people have. And just if you look at, I mean, me as a foreigner, one of the most difficult parts when I
Mhm.
first moved here was trying to socialize because everybody has their circles, their friend groups. They've lived here their entire lives. They've been around these people since they were in kindergarten. And so most of the times, my biggest problem was they'd be like, hey, you're American. You haven't been here for so long. We don't think you're going to last that long. So, like, only until maybe my sixth year did I have a really solid friend group because they're like, well, all right, you made it. We trust that
Mhm.
you're going to stay here. Safe emotional investment there. But also a lot of people are like, well, I have my group of friends. I really don't need any more. And it's
Mhm.
kind of it hurts for sure, but you're like, well, I mean, yeah, valid point. Yeah, I guess
Mhm.
so.
I was talking to someone from California who lives here in Texas now, and she said exactly the same thing about Texas. It's crazy. Like you pretty much used the same words that you just used, and this whole people have their friend group, and yeah, they're friendly, but the the difference I think with in general is that Germans on the whole are very and you just said it, emotional investment. It's like, do I, you know, um, do I put effort into this? Is this worth my time? She's just here for a little while and she's going to go again. And I mean, I guess there is something in that, and it makes it hard for an outsider to break in. But
Yeah,
I mean, we're right into kind of dissecting German psyche. Let's just wind back just a little bit because, I mean, yeah, you went to Germany, but what was it that brought you to Germany? What made you choose Munich?
yeah. So this is actually, I think, the mm, least sexy version of the story anybody's ever told. For me, it was very much like, I tried to go study in the US. I tried to take care of myself, and I was by myself at quite a younger age than most people. And so it was just incredibly hard. Like the system is against you if you're young, if you're by yourself, if you're female, and if you are trying to work your way up, which the US system is unfortunate in that aspect. So it was just not working out for me. Like I was trying my best and just getting nothing. And I thought, okay, I can either continue working 3 jobs my entire life to try to make
Mhm.
ends meet, or I can take a risk. I can find somewhere that has better opportunities and hopefully have a better life. And I knew that, Germany, there was a lot of stability. Also, I really liked the language. So I was excited to learn that. Also, I did my fair share of research, and the welfare system was the most attractive aspect to me
Hmm.
here because, it's like I could have, worst case scenario, came here, not made it to having such a good career, and I don't know, worked at McDonald's, something, where people would think, okay, this is the bottom, this is the worst. But you still get paid sick days, you still get regular holiday per year, and a pension and health
Hmm.
insurance. And it's sort of like, if you're a person that wants to take care of yourself, you can't fail in this system. And for me, that was my biggest thing, is I needed somewhere where I could wake up in the morning and know I have security. I'm not going to lose my home. I'm not going to lose everything
Absolutely.
because I can't get a job, or because I lose my job, or I get
Hmm.
sick. And, I had that situation in the States. So I got sick one time. I had to go to the hospital, and they picked me up in the ambulance, and I was like, "Oh gosh,
Yeah.
okay, well, I
Yeah.
guess here's more debt." But yeah, so
It's insane, the system here, and I honestly don't know how people do it. And I don't think I could have come here at a young age to build my life, because I mean I'm looking at this now with like my kids are teenagers, and what that everyone's talking about college, and that you start everything with a huge debt. We moved here in our 30s, like late 30s, and so
Mhm.
it's a very different situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think the biggest thing is, like, my family is quite a low socioeconomic status, and so then to have that in my background, and then for the years I was alone. I mean, I was alone since like my teenage years, and
Mhm.
so just trying to come from that background of no resources to just
Yeah.
me, just double no resources, the system was so much against me. And it's unfortunate because, there's this concept of upward mobility in the American dream, but it only applies to people that already have a pretty good foundation.
Yeah, it's just not much social, it's not much security here.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the American dream, well, yeah, exists in theory, I guess.
Yeah, that's forever
Certainly
my
doesn't apply
phrase.
to everyone. Yeah.
That's for my
Yeah.
phrase. I was able to achieve the American dream by moving to Germany.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's so great.
and really, I think that's one of the things that I just love the most about living here. Like, of course, it's not perfect, and with our situations, it didn't work out for you, but it worked out for me. But that's because we had different variables, we had different backgrounds,
Mhm.
we were there
Absolutely.
in different places in our lives.
And to me, I mean, I think it's an amazingly brave thing to do, to leave
Mhm.
your home country and try and build a new life somewhere else, especially when you don't have a strong background or strong foundation.
Yeah.
What was it like for you in the beginning, early days and weeks?
Oh yeah, this part, I think, once again, the least sexy of all, moving to Germany stories, because it was super, super calculated from my end, because I was very much like, Munich is going to be a very hard place to get a foundation. I've never lived in Germany before. I don't speak any German,
Mhm.
and I need to hit the ground running. Otherwise, I'm just not going to make it. The competition and just everything around me. Not to mention, my university degrees were not recognized in Germany. I graduated high school a year early. And so then the German system goes, well, we have this paper, and it says American high school is it's 4 years, and you take this, and this subject. And if these are all not checked off, we don't consider it. And I said, but here's my diploma. I graduated early. I doubled up on courses, so I did finish them all. I do know what everybody else did. That's why they let me graduate. And they were just like, but it's 3 years. How? That's not 4 years. It's 3 years. And then they're like, well, technically you didn't graduate high school, and then technically how are you supposed to get university degrees if you didn't even finish high school? And I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
Germany,
There we
like,
go. That's German lack of
oh,
flexibility, bureaucracy at its finest.
it's such a love-hate relationship. You're like, I like the structure, but damn the structure.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I know it's changed a little bit now. There are more options now than when I started university, but recognizing international diplomas and things like that, it's just always tricky and problematic,
No.
because the school systems are just so different in different countries, and sometimes it's just a a real lack of awareness and
Mhm.
flexibility. And you have to provide a lot more than just a high school diploma in order to be
Mhm.
considered.
One point that I remember that they really were just it upset about is, oh well, you only know one language. You didn't learn a second language fluently. And I'm like, yeah, yes, I know. I'm trying to. But the thing is, in my country, we don't really have much connection to with the rest of the world. I feel like you would understand that the best. Like you guys, you this is what you make fun of us for. This is.
Mhm.
I mean, it's different. Like it's not in
Yeah.
our curriculum because most people they don't leave the country, so it's not a necessity. But hey, I'm trying. I'm talking to you in German now. Like, can you, I don't know, be a bit more helpful or say, hey, maybe go get a credit for a university
Mhm.
course in language or I don't know, something like that. Where it was just to me, it's just the German thing of they're not a socially driven culture, so it's very much not like let's connect as people, but very much like let's leave that out of here. So
It's
that was
almost,
definitely tricky.
that's almost like um, that directness, and not trying to make it sound, um, like the American system where you buffer something negative with something positive. So at least if you say something negative, you have to wrap it around some, some nice,
Sugarcoating.
yeah, and just kind of say, well, you don't have this, but hey, how about you do this? And if you
Hmm.
did this, then you would get that. And how great would that be? But Germans are very much not like that at all.
Yeah.
But it didn't scare you off. I'm just, that's amazing, because I have, honestly, I have the biggest respect, because it's like, how do you get to that and be confronted with that bluntness and not very helpful experience? How do you do that? How did you?
Yeah, well, I think for me, I'm not so much like the average American because I don't like the sugarcoating, but I'm very much like the one thing I appreciated the most I found in Germany is that they give you mountains and mountains of paperwork, like both figuratively
Mhm.
and literally. But if you complete all this paperwork, you will get what you did the paperwork for. And in the States, that's not what happens. I jumped through so many loops. I worked so hard, and it's
Mhm.
always like, oh, maybe better luck next time. And you're like, why do you tell me or how to do this or tell me to do this work and I'll get what I work for and then I get nothing?
Mhm.
And so it was just motivating to be somewhere where finally like just the effort and the drive is respected. The fact that I'm like, I'm willing to do whatever work I have to just
Mhm.
build this life for myself or, just get this security. I'm so happy. I won't complain. Just tell me what to do. But then the tricky part where it just a lot of times it was super discouraging and I think definitely emotionally draining because I had everything, this track record. It wasn't like I was coming up brand new, just like,
Yeah.
oh, fantasy, like, oh, I'll do this and I'll get everything. It was very much like, no, look at the work I've done. I really want to continue working for it. What do I have to do? Please just tell me. And I'm so happy to make that happen.
Mhm.
But then just getting the answer of like, oh, well, that's a bummer. But then I sort of thought of it sort of as a game because people they're not really willing to help you, but if you can dig around a lot, then you can find what you need to do. Like it's there somewhere. So for example, one thing I recently found out, well, recently, a while ago. So I took my exams for German citizenship and I have yet to apply for my passport because they do not recognize dual citizenship. So I would have to renounce my American one. And the biggest issue with that is the cost of it and the processing nonsense the US wants. It's just ridiculous. And the only way you can get dual citizenship for the US and Germany is if one you're born into it. So I know some people I'm just
But I mean,
from a
there is
grudge.
talk about this changing right now, isn't there? I just read it in the new coalition government that's on their list of things to make dual citizenship easier. This was just last week.
I've not got that
I think
yet.
I even saw like a video clip where that's definitely on the agenda, so that they're making it easier to become German.
Interesting.
But because it's such a huge subject. So for me, I haven't
Hmm.
applied for American citizenship yet, because in order to do so, I would need, well, the first thing I need to do is apply for a permit to keep my German citizenship. So Germany is very much like, if you become American, then we'll just take your German passport. So I would lose that automatically if they got wind of it. So I need to do that Beibehaltungsgenehmigung, which is one of those wonderful German words. And you need to do that first. And then when you have it, and this can take a few years, and it's expensive too. And once I have that, then I can apply for American citizenship. But so they don't make it easy, I think, on either side.
But I wanted to add in. So my point was, as I was digging into something, because I'm like, this can't be the only way. This is ridiculous. One, I can't save up all this money for that, especially right now. And I was like really reading over the German legislation, which, oh my gosh, exhausting. The vocabulary they use, you're just like, why must you guys do this? I thought I knew German, but I will never, ever know German. There's so many different types.
You know what? I don't think I would be able to understand it. Legalese.
I worked in health insurance, so I've at least got the drive to figure out what some of it means before my brain just goes. But so I was reading through it, and I found that there's this sort of clause in legislation that says that if your monthly income is less than the cost to renounce the citizenship or processing fees, then you can use that and then hold both of your citizenships. But unfortunately, it's like the net. And I just got a new job, which yay for me, but not yay for me, because it was like right above that, how much it costs. So I was like, almost, but not. Yeah, but still, the loophole there, somewhere inside.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen, and I think it's so essential for people like yourself, where it's just you shouldn't have to choose. You shouldn't have to renounce one thing or another. It's. I think it should just be whether you want to or not, but not like there are too many people living with two cultures or more cultures and have lived in various countries. And it's the citizenship is a big one. So, and for you to want to take on German citizenship, that shows that you really love where you are and you kind of feel that connection to the place so strongly.
I'm like, oh man, the most heartbreaking thing was when I was applying for citizenship, like I had to do all the exams, which one was just, oh my gosh, exhausting and terrifying, but I passed them. But then I had to show all of my, what is the word? The Renten documents. What is that? Pension? Is that
pensions?
Yeah, pension. And just showing that all the taxes I paid for the last, it was 6 years when I applied, about 6 years. And I'm just like, oh man, I could have had so much money saved up, and now taxes. And I'm like, really? Like I could live in the States and I could have a lot more money in my bank account if I went to go back there with the education I have now. But I'm stimulating your economy. Come on. I'm helping support your senior community's living expenses. Like, come on, I care. Please.
Yes. Oh, it's such a complicated subject, which is also why it should be much easier for people to just have the opportunity to get both.
Yeah, but that's fingers crossed for us.
And bureaucracy, I mean, it's not easy here either. Let's talk about some other things, some other aspects of German life, surprising things, stereotypes, all that kind of thing. What's your favorite thing about Germany?
I think one of the things that I really enjoy the most and constantly enjoy the most about living here is like the little mundane, everyday little nuances. I I'm very much a person, I think, in general, where I just always try to focus on little things, because I know if I wake up and I'm just, excited about all these little things and every day, maybe, normal life, then I'll never be disappointed. And I find Germans, it's such a treat with them. Like, I just find the culture so just silly but adorable. Like, everybody has their Hausschuhe, and like just all the stuff in the shops and what people do and how they talk, and it just, I think it's adorable. Like, the concept of cafe and kuchen, so cake and coffee in the afternoon. It's just
Yes.
such a little thing. And you're like, this is adorable. I love you guys' little habits. Oh, it's fantastic. Or the thing that I think is the funniest is how Germans, they always, I think, nag and be like, oh, Americans, you guys love small talk, rah, 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 rah. And then Germans love small talk. Oh my gosh, they live for it. But it's just a different type of small talk. It's more like um observant small talk, whereas American small talk is like, hey, how you doing? How's your mom? What's your favorite color? And Germans are like, oh, look at this weather. Oh, I'm doing this today. And oh, this is that. And just very, I don't know,
I
but
love
they
that
love
you're
it.
saying that, because so many people just say, oh, Germans are just cannot do small talk and they're just not interested and
No.
they just say and
Yeah.
it's absolutely not true. I
No.
feel like Germans actually do like to chat, and they might react surprised when, a
Mhm.
stranger just talks to them, but they love
Not
it.
about the
They
weather.
love it. You can talk about the weather at length and it never gets dull. But no,
Oh,
but
that's
Germans, I think that when someone actually talks to them and they think the first thing maybe is, oh my God, this person is crazy. Why are they talking to me? But then they really, really love it. And then they really get into it. And you can get a really deep discussion and a really deep conversation out of it.
Yeah.
So
What one thing is cute is also Germans, how they're just absolutely controlled by the weather. Like, you look at the weather, you're like, oh, it's a
Mhm.
sunny day, they're gonna be outside. Oh, it's a cloudy day, they're gonna be inside. They're just controlled by it. And that's how you can tell. And then you see yourself starting to be like, oh, well, it's not that sunny. I guess I better not go out. I best I just ignore this. And then you're like, then you find yourself staying home on a sunny day and you're like, why do I feel so guilty? Why do I feel so bad? I need to
the,
go out.
the guilt. I love
Then
it.
you're like, wait a second. No, I'm the boss of myself, not the weather.
That's funny. But also, that's coming from someone who's grown up in Hawaii.
I don't know. I'm the opposite. It starts snowing here and I love to go riding in the
Mhm.
snow. I'm just
Mhm.
like a dog off the leash at the park, just shoo. And so as soon as the weather is like a little bit, well, just anything but sunny, I'm like, let's go outside. Yeah.
Mhm.
Cold
Yeah.
breeze, brisk, nice.
Yeah, but that's, yeah, again, I appreciate that, like living in Texas where it's too hot most of the year. The minute
Yeah.
it gets cold, you can just, people's spirits just rise. Everyone's like, oh, this is so good. Everyone is so happy, and we get so
Mhm.
excited when putting boots on. We never need to put boots on, but it's like,
It's like 27 degrees. You're like,
yeah. Oh, it's so
no.
chilly. Yeah, I know. It was like I was talking to my mom the other day, and it was like, oh, it was really cold today, and she was like, what does that mean in your in your language, because it's really cold here. Like, yeah, sorry, I'm not going to mention the temperature. What other things have you observed? Maybe things that are different to the US.
Yeah, I find with the culture, and this is sort of one thing, like what you said earlier about what you've realized from your own country is, it took me, not living in the US to realize some of the valuable parts about growing up there. And one of
Mhm.
them is just the aspect of the culture that, we're just very socially driven. So we
Mhm.
know how to be around people, but also get the enjoyment from it, I think. And I think the thing is with Germans is, it's not that they're cold or not that they're, unsocial to, like, on purpose, but it's just the fact that that's just
Mhm.
not the way the culture is directed. It's like, for example, in the US, if you're standing in a group of people and you take a pack of gum out, you're going to offer it to everybody around you first before you take a piece of gum for yourself. In Germany, you'll take a piece of gum out for yourself, put it away, not acknowledge
Mhm.
anybody else around you. And
Mhm.
it's not you being rude, it's just because,
Yeah.
so like, that social motivation is just, it's not what you were raised with. And
Mhm.
so for me, that's one thing I realized is like, oh, it's unique, but also it's really valuable, because I found, not just my personal life, but my work life, it's really handy that I just happen to be somebody who's not intimidated during presentations or talking to new people, or, getting stuff done that I don't know what to do, where most people are very just reserved, like, oh, I don't know this person. I don't know. Whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm going to figure out who all these people around me every day are. Or like my building, I know everybody on my floor because I'm like, well, we live together. So I want to know who you guys are. I see you every day. I'm not just going to be like, awkward, like stare and walk away.
Do you feel like maybe that's also something that you've just come to do and to experience because you're the outsider coming in, so you just see things differently and you might make much more of a point of doing things? And yes, I agree, the American culture is much more like you go out and talk to people much more freely, but do you think it's also because of moving there and just like, what have you got to lose?
Oh gosh, no, I wish it was that actually. I think I've had a lot of trouble like the last years where it sometimes can just be very, I think, emotionally taxing in this environment where, not always if I'm friendly to somebody, are they nice back or they acknowledge it. Sometimes I just get really hit with the, who are you? Why are you talking to me? And I'm like, well, I just thought it would be polite. And they're like, well, how about you don't? And just weird type of things where I'm thrown off because I have good intentions and it seems like, why would I ignore you so blatantly? But okay, you know? And so sometimes that could really just make me feel down, or just there's a lot of times where you just feel quite lonely because of that disconnect. And because you're like, or in the past I felt sort of like, oh man, why can't I be like people here? Like, why do I have to always walk around like smiling and just like, oh, this, that. And, I got made fun of a lot or something because I just am, I don't know, tend to be happy-go-lucky like that and be like, oh, look at this little thing. Oh, look at that. Isn't it great? And they're like, well, you goofy, dumb American. And I'm like, no, I just, I've experienced bad things in my life. And also, why would I want to wake up every morning and be negative Nancy if that's not necessary, Like, I don't know about y'all, but I don't like waking up and looking for the bad things in life. I don't know. But sometimes you're like, gosh, I wish I could be a little grumpier and fit in. Like,
oh, that's such a national trait. But I think in general that's a Central European or Western European thing too. Although maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just a European thing. I don't know. But yeah, that's for sure one thing I don't miss. And so that I can imagine that must be really hard still after all these years to be kind of, you feel like you can't really be yourself.
Yeah, it's very much like there's a lot of situations where I have to put on like not like my work hat, but my German hat, where I have to be like, okay, don't be so animated when you talk, because there's certain things I didn't realize, like I make a lot of expressions, or I like bounce around, or my voice gets more high pitched the more excited I get. And then this stuff comes to around and like bite me in the ass because people go, oh, well, you're not serious, or this must mean you're stupid. And I'm like, oh, I'm trying. Let me just look uninterested and try to make my voice deeper and but it's just, sometimes it's exhausting. But luckily though, now I've at least solved that problem a little bit because I work for a company where I don't have to worry so much about that. So it's great.
But you need that. You need an environment where you can be like that, because I mean, yeah, there was a certain element of, I don't really care what people think, or I'm just going to be myself. But obviously you want to fit in. So, but I have so much respect for you, because I can't imagine what that must be like. It's I think it's much easier the other way around. You come here, and I almost found at the beginning that I was using like nagging or talking about something bad as a way to connect with people, when you complain about stuff. And then
but that's how you do it here. You're like, oh, this weather today, and they're like, yeah,
it's so true.
Like,
and I know, and I had exactly that, where I would be like, I can't believe it's been raining for 3 days straight. It's so depressing. And the other person would just look at me like, well, yeah, what's the problem? The blank expression and just not engaging at all. And
Mhm.
maybe even say something positive, like, oh, isn't it nice to, but whatever. And I'd go home and be like, please, I just need people to be grumpy with. And then gradually kind of realize, no, I really don't.
I don't
Actually, it's
need to
so
be
bad
grumpy right
too.
now. There's
No,
a time, there's a
absolutely.
place. Every day is
Uh-huh.
not it.
Americans get stereotyped all the time. It's just being constantly cheerful and just, but that's not
Yeah.
true. It's just a different approach. Of course, and Americans are not cheerful all the time. For sure they're not.
Mhm.
And especially not, I mean, looking at politics and the healthcare
Mhm.
system, and we talked about this earlier. There's so many things to be upset about and complain about, but people generally are just more positive, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting because the way I've come to see it is it's like sometimes it's very authentic and sometimes it's a bit of a defense mechanism.
Mhm,
So in that way it can be either or, but there's the difference where just culturally we're brought up to live in the moment, where Germans
mhm,
are never in the moment. They're always thinking of the future. And it's just once again those cultural differences that
mhm,
dictate your everyday take on things. And it's just a
mhm,
matter of like being conscious of that and then choosing actually what's which one do you enjoy the most or which one makes sense at this point in time. And
mhm,
so I mean, I think I'm thankful that I was able to sort of realize that and take on like the good parts from each side to sort of go
mhm.
forward with.
And
But
again, that's
one thing I realized is you moving to the States, was it difficult when you tell people you're German because your English accent is very British English, and I feel like most Americans would be like, "How are you German when you sound like this
mhm.
type of English?"
Um, well, it's normally people are just not really phased by it. I think it's in general in this
Mm.
country, people are very used to hearing accents. It's such an immigrant nation, and so
Mhm.
and here, so Texans are very much like anyone who's not Texan has an accent.
Yeah.
So that's their worldview, and so they don't really care whether it's British or German. And usually, when I say I'm German, they just really positive and excited, and I get the my grandma was German, I'm half German, that kind of thing. And then when I say, oh, I lived in the UK, that's usually enough of an explanation. Let's talk a little bit about social media. You were pretty active at one point,
Mhm.
posting a lot of content to do with all your observations, cultural comparisons, differences, all that kind of thing. And
Mhm.
then you stopped doing that, or you reduced it quite drastically.
Mhm.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I used to do YouTube quite a lot. And then after a while, I kind of realized, well, I think I've done everything I wanted to do. And at this point in time, it's just more like either I do this full time and I make my entire life fully transparent and open and monetize that, or I do something else. And for me, it was like I started YouTube because I was here alone and I had to learn to do a lot of stuff without help. I mean, when I first came here, I had to learn how to do my taxes all in German by myself. There wasn't any of these platforms like now where you have N26 that's English banking, or you have Wundertax that's English German tax support, like all these really helpful, cool features and softwares that didn't
Mhm,
exist. And so I was very much like, what if there are other people trying to do what I'm doing and maybe I could save them some of the tears and little emotional breakdowns I've had and just connect and make that nice, fun space, share my experiences, share all these little everyday things that I find to be adorable and funny. And so it just sort of grew from there. But then, I mean, I work in social media and I do content strategy, and I really love that creative aspect to it. But at
mhm,
a certain extent, it got too invasive for my personal life, and I lost the joy in it because it was like I don't want to make my whole life my job. I
mhm,
don't want to be so transparent to so many thousands of people, and also just transparent for them to keep, I don't know, harass me, or some of the stuff I would get that was just really horrible, and really just like, this is a space I created to put nice content out,
Hmm.
and you guys don't deserve this. And now it's starting to affect me and make me feel bad. And it's just, yeah, it's a lot of time and it's a lot of effort. And if I'm getting that in return, then I think
Hmm.
my time has passed with this. So yeah, like you guys ruined that, and now you lost privileges. I'm done.
Hmm.
And so I just sort of started wanting to focus more on, I think, my mental health in that aspect, and really just turn to more projects where I got more of that energy out of it than I put into it. And so I stopped doing YouTube and I started working on some other brands I have. So, like, most of them, I don't put my name on, or you don't know
Hmm.
it's me, because then I can create this great helpful content about, my city, or about, guides and all that
Hmm.
stuff I did before. But if there's no face attached to it, then there's a lot less criticism, and it's more like the
Hmm.
intention that you have with the content. It's taken more that
So much
way.
healthier.
And unfortunately, it's kind of a bummer to say it that, but I found that to be more of a win-win situation. I still can connect with my community. I still can connect with these topics I like, but just have that nice anonymous aspect to it and protect myself.
I absolutely get that. And it's such a shame that it seems to be just the last few years where it's just got so much worse. I think
Mhm.
because so many more people are on social media and very transparent and very open on social media, it's just everyone makes themselves so vulnerable. And unfortunately, people don't
They
always
just want
do.
more and more though, and
And
it takes
and
away
then
from the
it just
purpose.
absolutely. And then it's so easy to criticize and to be creepy and horrible on,
Mhm.
because it's all, there's a screen and you can just stay anonymous, and it's just become vicious, I
Mhm.
think. So I absolutely get that.
It's sort of like the social is being more and more taken out of social media the more oversaturated and bigger it gets. And I started to realize that, and I was like, oh, I don't want to be a part of that aspect. So I'll do these projects I like, that I can get
Yeah.
not just more value for myself, but for my target demographic or audience that I'm creating this for. Because at the end of the day, like, it's, I wanted to make sure that these creative aspects and projects I have, of course, some of them I can earn a little bit of money, which is great because it does take a lot of time. But at the end of the day, I don't want that to be my full time job, because I want to keep the passion project aspect to it, and just do stuff that's fun. And so, one of the ones, well, I think the only sort of social media that I have really public is like my personal Instagram, but not, that's not really advertised. But we did start the last year, me and my friend Nicole from the Expat Cast, a podcast together about dating in Germany.
I love Nicole. This is just so great. For the listeners who don't know who we're talking about, Nicole is also an American in Germany. She lives in Freiburg in the southwest of Germany, and she has a brilliant podcast called The Expert Cast. You just mentioned it.
Mhm.
We've actually both been guests on it,
Mhm.
and she's been a guest on mine. And I just love that you seem to just connect, obviously not in person to start with, but on social media,
Yeah.
but to have that connection and then take it further. I love that so much. So yeah, tell us about that collab.
Yeah, so Nicole's one of my best friends, and we originally met because of her podcast. And I did an episode when I was doing YouTube, and we met in person, and we're just like, oh my gosh, we're destined best friends. How great that our community brought us together. And so we got along very well. It was actually funny because we met and wrote a little bit, like emailing, and we're gonna do an episode
Mhm.
together. And I was like, hey, I've never been to your part. What if I come there and then we do the episode in person? And she was
Mhm.
like, oh, I don't know, I haven't done that. Let's see. And then we met, and I was like, oh, you know what? We're gonna be friends. This is great. And she was like, okay, wait. And then ever since then, just like peas in a pod. And
Yeah.
so one of the things we experienced is, so it was always the case in the past where she's in a relationship, and I was single, or vice versa. And then finally, the last years, we both ended up being single at the same time. And after our separate breakups, eventually ready to mingle. And so we would always like have these long catch up calls and talk about these experiences. And I mean, especially as an American dating German guys, it's just a lot of times you're like, is is this me or is it the men in this country? But I cannot figure it out. And I just constantly feelings of like being gaslit. But then you're like, but I just what? And so we would just like play back these stories or situations to each other and just be like, no, wait a second. It can't just be us. This is just it's this has got to be like this phenomenon. It's not anywhere else on there's no media, like there's no anybody saying anything else about it. Like we need to check and fill this gap in the online space and see, can it just be us or not? So why don't, instead of just having our calls, we just make a podcast out of them? And you know what? We'll either find out if it's actually just us that's the problem here, or if people can relate. Either way, win-win situation. We get our question answered, or there's a really entertaining podcast of all of our horrible dating stories.
So what's the name of your podcast?
Yeah, our podcast is called The Dating a Broadcast.
Which is, that in itself is an awesome title.
Our tagline, our intro is, we are two broads abroad dating German, so you don't have to.
It is so funny. And I love the honesty that is in your conversations. It's like you're not hiding anything. You're not hiding who you are. You're just like, you put it all out there. And I just absolutely love that. There's so much. And just sometimes the bafflement is just so, it's just like, you could just hear it in your voices, and then comparing notes and then telling stories. And so I think it's such a good idea. I mean, dating interculturally in general is, I mean, there's so much potential for failure and for misunderstandings, but also hilarity and just bafflement for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of situations where you're just so heartbroken and you're like, why is this not working? Like, what is wrong, this and that? And it's sort of been like this thing where both of us, we can just talk about it and then reassure or like help each other work with something and be like, wait, no, that's actually just really weird. Like that, I don't know about that. And be like, okay, great, feel better about this. There's hope out there. Like, or just the most amazing part, which me and her really try with each episode. Like we planned it quite ahead and we're like, okay, listen, we want to make sure this is very not just our opinions, but also we're comparing notes and experiences here and not overgeneralizing. And I think that's where me and her get along very well, because we can easily steer each other and be like, okay, opinion to experience to how do we then rationalize this, or maybe thinking of it from that perspective. And so I feel like it was just such a cool mix. And editing the episodes, I was just like in tears, cackling, like listening to.
But because you're both from a similar cultural background, and you've both lived in Germany for a while. I know you've lived there a little bit longer than Nicole has, but so you have that perspective, because you know how German minds work, or at least, you had a good glimpse, so you can understand certain things, and so it must be even more confusing sometimes.
Well, it's actually helpful because I only started dating when I moved to Germany. And so I've only really dated German guys. Granted, since then, there's been slight mix of other cultures, but I don't know, Austrian, Swiss, so technically same.
Technically the same thing.
I mean, but not like I've only had relationships with Germans, to be more specific. And so Nicole, she's had a bit more experience with Americans, and so I can give a great like experience of in depth. I've been in the fields, like I know this, and she can be like, well, interesting, comparing it to this part of our culture. And I'm like, aha, notes, cool.
I would love like a podcast about you just all sorts of international what am I saying, nationalities thrown in, like comparing.
Well, that's what we're planning for season 2.
So interesting. Yeah, because there's just so much to talk about.
Yeah.
I tried earlier this year, I tried to start a new season and focusing on intercultural relationships and
Hmm.
the difficulties and fun bits and all that. And I had some guests who really delivered. I had a Scottish woman, for example, married to an Egyptian.
Ooh.
She was very happy to talk about national stereotypes and all that. But I also had a lot of people who said it's just down to personality. And I try to kind of get them to talk about cultural differences. And they were like, no, it's just because if we're just different, I have just different personalities. And yeah, okay, of course. But come on, let's have some fun here. They're just things that come up because of different cultural or linguistic backgrounds, and yeah,
Hmm.
why not have some fun with it and talk about all that. It doesn't all have to be
Hmm.
serious.
Yeah, no, that's very much our plan. So we wanted to do the first season sort of as a tester to see how it went
Hmm.
and do it like our experiences. And then
Hmm.
surprisingly, so exciting though, we started getting so many messages from these girls and just oh my gosh, the people relating to the stuff. We're just like,
Hmm.
ah, oh my God, that's so the validation. This is great. But also just the fact that people writing us and being like, oh my gosh, why do German guys always use this monkey emoji? I've actually never met anybody else that does this. And our being just like, wow, amazing. What have we uncovered? And
Yeah, yeah.
just like the
So
community
it's so
aspect.
funny. I wish I could contribute to that, but my days of dating German is long in the past, and yeah, I didn't end up with one. So
Well, no, our point
well,
is being made, I guess.
yeah. Oh gosh. Oh,
But no,
that's so
so
funny.
for the
Mhm,
second season, what we want to do is just really do it more different episodes, having a different person that joins the conversation with us.
mhm,
So, like, of course, we want to hear what it's like for you marrying somebody from the UK, and then seeing how more it's about, dating abroad, not just in Germany, but how
mhm,
these different multicultural relationships are. Because at the end of the day, it's, it for sure is the point of you gotta click, but there's still things in your culture that dictates whether or
mhm.
not that's going to work enough. I mean,
Yeah.
I can say I've dated some German guys that personality wise pretty good, but based on their upbringing, just some things where they just couldn't cope with being with somebody that was not exactly the same as them, or it's fun at first and then they're just like, well, I mean, this is what you do and this and that, and this is not what you use a kitchen towel for. Like,
Mhm.
it's supposed to be for this. And you're like, well, like, do you remember we're from different cultures? So I'm going to use this for a different thing than you are. And that's like just little adventures we come across every now and then. But it's completely valid that, you know what, we get along personality wise, but sometimes life isn't compatible and everywhere else because of
Yeah.
culture.
But it's the little surprising things, I think, that you just don't,
Hmm.
you meet someone, you click, you maybe fall in love and start a relationship, and then like a few years down the line you have things, but all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't know we were on such a different wavelength when it comes to this and that. And I mean, like starting a family, for example, that's a
Hmm.
big one where it's like that's when you really see if your cultural values kind of align or not, or how
Hmm.
much you're willing to adjust. But yeah, but it would be also really interesting to have perspective of an American in living in America with a German partner in the States. So
Yes.
what that would be, with how
Mhm.
German, whether the cultural environment would change things, and whether,
Mhm.
so there's so much.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
like
so
I'm like, "Oh,
curious.
I don't
So
wanna say,
yeah.
but we have a lot of really good ones planned."
Ooh.
We even have an episode planned with a couples
Mhm,
therapist,
mhm. Oh,
and she
amazing. Yes.
actually works here in Munich, and so I was, talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, I would love to do an episode and then talk more about the people because she works with a
Mhm,
lot of, foreign couples, so
mhm,
either a foreign partner with a German or, different, a mix of variety. So I'm like, ooh, yes, that's really interesting to see.
That sounds great. I can't wait to listen to that, because like I said earlier, it's like there's just so much scope for fun, but also serious things that very often, you enter those relationships, you don't even think about cultural differences or how that comes into play. You
It's
just
like the
don't.
novelty aspect takes over, and then after a while, once you realize, oh, but what about the everyday real world aspect? Then a lot of people realize, oh, okay, it's actually not easy dating somebody that's not from your culture, because there's these little everyday little things that you are so accustomed to, and then it becomes an issue when the other person just doesn't have this habit, and you have to confront it and make decisions and acknowledge and have that not so honeymoon aspect to the relationship where it's like, oh, we have to talk about this. Oops, okay.
But it's also, it's such a good glimpse into another culture. You learn so much about that country and how people think and why things are the way they are.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one of the funniest stories with my last relationship is, I like popcorn is one of my favorite snacks. I'm always like going and making popcorn, and I make it on the stove because when I don't have a microwave, but also I'm like, love microwave popcorn. We'll get started on that. So many people here do not know that you can make popcorn kernels in a pot. They all think, oh, this comes from a microwave bag. And I'm like, let me show you the food of my people. But my ex, I was saying, oh, we're gonna watch a series. I'm gonna make popcorn. He was so excited, and he goes, wow, you can make on the stove. This is so great. And then he comes over and he's like, I got the sugar. And I was like, for popcorn? He's no, I'm not making kettle corn. And we stood there and we got like into such an argument because we're both so excited to have our type of popcorn. And neither one of us thought, oh yeah, they don't eat it the same way I do because you're American and I'm German. But just one of those things where you just are so like, hold on, no, what is this?
So it's so funny. I didn't even know that there was a thing that you could have salty popcorn. I didn't know. And it's so much better. It's so much. I just
yes, thank you.
And now I cannot touch I don't like the sweet stuff at all. I can't do it.
And then I was like, oh, no wonder he was really stressed out when I told him how much popcorn I eat on a regular basis. Like, so he'd be like, really? You're eating this now? And I'm like, yeah, so much of it. And he's like,
because it's almost like it's a like, healthy snack if you don't make it with sugar. A ton of butter and salt. It's quite healthy to snack on, but obviously not the sweet variety.
Yeah. But it's just those little things you really don't expect. And yeah, so it's definitely like a very big highlight of my content creation at the moment.
I can't wait to hear more, and as I said, I'll put all the links in the show notes. Talking about popcorn, or maybe not popcorn, but
smooth segue.
Here comes the segue. I always like to ask this as a final question. So when you get really homesick, and there are those moments, right, when you're just like, where am I? What am I doing? Why did I move here? Is there anything that you do when you're homesick? Do you have any, like a recipe, like food that you prepare, that you buy, or a tradition that you maintain? Do you do Thanksgiving? All those kind of things. Is there anything special that you do when you miss home?
I think for me, I really love cooking, so I will just bake up a storm. Like the last week I was feeling not my best. I mean, with all the changes of the COVID nonsense, especially in Bavaria, I was just like, oh no, I'm starting to feel really lonely and really just disconnected. And it's not really so much homesick, but homesick for just feeling that connection. And right now with the COVID and all that, it's very quickly like cut off, like, oh, I am slightly isolated here. So what I did is I baked a whole bunch of pies. And the thing is I'm quite proud to say I've perfected my pie crust recipe. So it's so good and flaky and buttery and just everything that Germans have no idea about. So I baked a ton of pies with like these beautiful braided lattice tops and just gave a bunch of people pie.
Amazing.
And for me, it was like, it's not that I've like really had even the taste myself. Like I had a little bit of bite, but it was more just like to make something that I knew was unique and I could share this experience with somebody else. Like I find that's sort of my way of coping is not so much I need this for me, but I need to get sort of that social connection to help me feel a bit more grounded. And so it was really fun. Like I got my whole house smell like butter for a week because you have all this pie crust and I made so much pie. But it was really
delicious.
great. So I just showed up at people's houses and I was like, hey, guess what? Pie time. They're like, Kaffee and Kuchen. And I'm like, don't call it Kuchen. This is pie. Like, scolding. I'm like, don't you dare call this cake. Like, Germans, I love you, but you guys, everything you make is dense. Your pastries are dense. And this is light, flaky. Don't even. Pie.
But I mean, baking is such a, because I do the same thing and I'm not really a big cook, but I do like baking and I do make German cakes when, you know, having that sense of, I want to do Kaffee and Kuchen, you know, I'm gonna invite my friend over.
It's just a social connection. Yeah. I know it's just that like definitely gave me my sparkle back because everybody was like, oh, like nobody knows what to expect. And I tasted, they're like, oh, this is so not like cake. And I was like, light and crispy, but also sweet.
Yes.
And then like being able to be like, oh yes, and I also created my own homemade spice blends to put in them because you don't have them here. And just you all being like, oh wow. And being able to share that, like, I love that.
I really want pie now. I haven't.
Well, if you need a good pie crust recipe, let me know.
Please, yes. Send it over. I'd love to.
Definitely.
It was so nice talking to you, Aspen. This was super fun. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks too. It's been really nice.
So that was it. My last podcast conversation of the year. I really enjoyed chatting with Aspen, not only because she lives in Munich, which is very close to my heart, but because she has such a positive outlook and is so full of energy, and you could really hear that. I thought her insights and observations were really interesting, very honest, very realistic, but also full of warmth and humor, and she still has all that curiosity about her surroundings even after 9 years of living there. So for all the German bashing we were doing, I think it was really obvious how much she appreciates her adopted country and especially its people. So if you're curious about Aspen and Nicole's podcast about intercultural dating, or maybe you are in an intercultural relationship or you have a good story, make sure you check it out, get in touch with them. Their Instagram is The Dating Abroadcast, and you will also find Aspen's details there, and of course I've put everything in the show notes. Not much more to say really than happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I hope you get to have some time off to enjoy these last few days of the year, reflect a little bit on what's happened, wrap it all up in a neat package, put a nice bow on top and leave it behind and move on. At least that's what I'm intending to do. Happy New Year, and as we say in Germany, guten Rutsch. Rutschen means to slide, so basically it means I hope you're sliding over into the new year smoothly and safely. See you next time.